Welcome, I am Raf, and yes, this movie has been talked to days on YouTube and even on other websites, but I have been trying to make this video for an embarrassingly long amount of time. When I got started, it was with this energy of this is gonna be a masterpiece. Everybody's gonna be talking about it. You know, those music videos where the song goes viral in the music video and everybody in it acts like they have never heard the song before. That was gonna be the reaction to my imaginary video. But now, inevitably, I have reached that point of I just want this to be done so I can move on with my life. So, Mujhse dosti karoge. I saw Mujhse dosti karoge when I was 11, but I actually had heard a lot about it before I actually got around to watching it. This girl back in the fourth grade, I don't remember what her name was, but we called her Kajal. She sang "Oh My Darling" to the class, and I remember being so intrigued because by that point, even though Bollywood was pretty popular in Ethiopia, the only interaction I had with it was through this mix CD we had at home that had one Hindi song, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and I loved that song. By the time that I actually got around to watching Mujhse Dosti Karoge, a lot of kids had told me about it, that it felt like that I was the only kid that hadn't seen it. So when I saw the film poster at the film store, my poor heart almost gave out because by that point I had seen a lot of Bollywood movies and I was obsessed with the whole romantic formula of it and all of its main stars. I had already seen the movie Kuch Kuch Hota Hai and I was obsessed with Rani. After that, she could do no wrong. And I mean no wrong because I saw Bichu right around this time and I remember convincing myself that it was a masterpiece. Despite kind of hating it, to be honest, because what the hell was that movie? The only thing that I remember from it is this scene where Rani hugs Bobby Deol and I noticed that she was short. And that made an impact because I was like 11 or 12, so I was still worried about growing up to be short. I saw somewhere on TV that to enter the Miss Universe competition, you need to be 1.72 meter and above. I don't know why I cared about that, but I really did. So when I saw Rani, the most beautiful woman on earth, when I noticed that she was short, I was like, who cares about the Miss Universe competition? Rani, the most beautiful woman on earth, is short, so like, obviously height doesn't matter. My point is, I loved Rani. And I also loved Karina, although not with the same intensity. I hadn't convinced myself that being girly was for losers yet, so I loved her style, I loved her energy, I loved her acting. I also was entering puberty, so you can imagine what I felt about Mr. Hrithik Roshan. I was so obsessed with him, and still am, to be honest. Why doesn't he, like, age? Why does he just keep getting hotter and hotter? The reason I'm saying all this is basically to justify why I still think Mujhse Dosti Karoge is a good movie, despite it not being very good, objectively. So, Mujhse Dosti Karoge is a romantic Bollywood movie. It's about three childhood friends who enter a love triangle. Raj loves Tina, Pooja loves Raj, and Tina loves Tina because she's terrific. I was obsessed with this entry scenes of Karina. After I saw it, I tried to come up with my own, but I didn't know they were singing terrific Tina. I just thought they were saying ta 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 Tina. So when I tried to make it my own, I was like ma 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 Meraf. It didn't sound as catchy, so I dropped it immediately. But this is one of my fondest memories. At the beginning of the movie, Raj is going to London with his family, but before he goes, he tells Tina to email him. And she initially agrees just to get out of the conversation, but when the time actually comes to write back to him, she's like, nah, me, read, or write, or do anything that will help my brain. Throughout the whole movie, she acted like she would like combust if she did anything that's related to books. But Pooja, the good girl that she is, she feels bad for him, so she like writes to him a whole email. She initially writes her name at the end, but she looks at him for a second and is like, nah, he doesn't care about me. And she writes her name instead and sends the email. So for the next 15 years, Raj and Pooja send email back and forth, Raj not knowing that he's talking to Pooja. But it should have been obvious from the get-go that Raj was not talking to Tina, or if not that he was talking to Pooja. There is this scene where Pooja tells him that she got first class in her grade. And it cuts back to Tina, and she's sitting with her father at a bench, and he's looking at her report card, and he's like, oh my god, I have a dumb daughter. And she's sitting over there like, my god, I felt that scene. My point is, it should have been obvious Raj was not talking to Tina. So after 15 years of emailing back and forth, Raj is going back to India, and he tells Pooja this. So Pooja freaks out, and instead of coming clean, she goes straight to Tina and begs her. Well, actually, she just whines for a second or two for Tina to pretend that she was the one who wrote the letters. And Tina immediately, and I mean immediately, agrees. She doesn't question why Pooja would do this. But when he comes back, Tina doesn't even make an effort to pretend that she was the one who was writing the letters. She just exists and is like, I'm Tina, and Raj doesn't question it. Actually, he questions it once, and he voices his concern to Pooja, but Pooja's like, nah, she's shy, and he's like, okay, and he just, like, he never brings it up again. So during his 2 week stay, Tina and Raj are flirting the whole time, and they have such an amazing chemistry that it would have made sense if they ended up together. Spoiler alert, they don't. I guess Tina doesn't like deserve love because she doesn't read books or something. And during this whole time when Raj and Tina are flirting, Pooja is in the background feeling sorry for herself as if she didn't cause this whole mess. Seriously, Pooja is the worst. She's doing all this manipulative crap, but the movie treats her like she's so nice. Like during one of the behind the scenes video, the director even says that Pooja is the one that girls are supposed to relate with, and that pisses me off because I did. After 2 weeks, Raj is going back to London, but before he goes, for some reason tells Tina to wait for him. Seriously, the only interaction these two had is just them saying you're hot to each other. But anyways, he tells her to wait for him, and notice that this is their last interaction. So after a month or so of Raj's leaving, Pooja also goes to London for an art school interview, and they spend a lot of time together, and while he's showing her around, they end up at this church where Raj used to go to every Sunday as a child. This is a church where Raj came up with this melody and sang to Pooja thinking that she was Tina, and while they were praying, Pooja starts humming this melody, and this and this is what makes him figure out what has been going on, and he freaks out, and I mean he freaks out. I was so obsessed with this scene as a child. I am pretty sure that this is the scene that kickstarted my obsession with angry men. Seriously, I was so obsessed with this scene. I thought he was so hot while he was screaming at her. But Pooja, instead of getting on her knees and repenting, she gaslights him into thinking that this is his fault. She's like you didn't recognize me back in India when we first met. And I'm like, how is it his fault for thinking that the girl that looks like Tina is Tina? Raj, instead of getting more angry, basically apologizes to her, tells her that he loves her and that they should be together. And Pooja initially says no, but Tina, but she immediately agrees. So they end up in a plane back to India. And the most unrealistic part of this whole thing is how Raj keeps getting time off from work, because this is his third time. When he took 2 weeks off from his work when he first went back to India, he took a week off to show around London, and now he's off to India to tell everybody that they're getting married. During this flight, there's no one mention of Tina. They talk about how they're gonna get married, how they're gonna tell everybody, and he even gives her his mother's kangan, which is gonna be important later on, but there's no one mention of the girl that he told to wait for him. But when they finally reach India, they find that Tina's father has died. But before he died, he and Raj's father had arranged Tina's and Raj's marriage because they were acting like a couple throughout his whole stay. So when Raj finds this out, he goes straight to Pooja and is like, we can't go on with this, we have to tell everybody about our relationship. But Pooja is like, no, it's better for Tina to be in a happy marriage than her to be alone. So she refuses and breaks up with him. And Raj initially tries to convince her, but when she refuses, he decides the next obvious step is to threaten her. He is like, okay, if I'm gonna end up in an unhappy marriage, you also have to do the same, because I'm not gonna be the only person who's gonna sacrifice their whole life for your friend Tina. So they go on with this engagement, and during this engagement, he introduces his friend Rohan to her so they can get married. And I guess he wants everybody around him to be miserable. After this, the movie is just Raj and Pooja being horrible human beings, Tina being a complete idiot, and Rohan just being there. But I actually forgive the second half of the movie because this is where we find the medley. 12 minutes of pure masterpiece. Seriously, this medley is the main reason why I fell in love with old Bollywood music and film. Or at least how I got introduced to them. After I heard Ajib Dastan Hey, it was stuck in my head for like a month or so. I was humming it everywhere. They also cover Kuch Kuch Hota Hai and Kahuna Pyar Hai, which used to confuse the hell out of me as a child. I was like, but how could this be? Rani and Ritik are in those movies. And during this medley, our two lovebirds are acting so obvious, and I mean so obvious, but everybody around them is just like, ah, such good friends. Finally, the wedding day arrives, and Pooja has also agreed to marry Rohan because Raj basically threatened her that he would break off the engagement with Tina if she doesn't. So while Pooja and Tina are getting ready for the wedding, Tina finds Raj's mother Kangan in Pooja's jewelry box, and this is not even what the thing that makes her figure it out. She tries it on and it doesn't fit her. But you know who it fits? Our girl Pooja. You know what this scene reminds me of? That scene in Bridgerton. This is the same way how the sister finds out, right? I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but I just thought it was similar. While Tina is freaking out, Pooja and Raj end up next to each other at the wedding altar for some reason. And while they were praying, Raj accidentally spills sindoor right in the middle of her forehead, and everybody freaks out. And while Pooja slowly and dramatically tries to rub the sindoor off, Tina comes out of nowhere and catches her hand. And you'd assume she'd be angry, right? But no, she's not. For some reason, she has taken off all her makeup, all her jewelry off, and she has changed into this outfit that every sad heroine wears when she gets dumped. And she's not angry. She basically thanks them for their friendship and sacrifice, and she tells them to get married. And nobody cares about Rohan. He's just in the background like... So they get married and they live happily ever after, or you know, at least until one of them realizes how shitty the other person is. So this is Mujhse, dosti, karoge. I know I have been crapping on it through the entirety of this video, but this is actually one of my favorite Hindi movies. It's super entertaining. It's long, but it doesn't drag, and it has such amazing soundtrack. This album is still one of my favorite Bollywood albums. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you if you have made it until now. And yeah, bye.